President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, holding a press event right now after a controversial week that included him contradicting the president on the payment to Stormy Daniels. Let's listen in.
So go ahead. What would you like to ask? Again, as I said, I'll repeat it one more time. I'm not answering questions about that now. We will talk about that tomorrow and later on in the week.
Why are people so afraid of the words regime change and assume that it must mean more boots on the ground?
Well, it almost always doesn't. I mean, I guess this regime is so violent and the biggest supporter of terrorism in the world that they assume that it will be violent. I'm hoping it wouldn't be. It was more like what happened in Poland, more like what happened in Russia. I mean, Russia was one of the biggest armies in the world, and it wasn't violent.
Mr. Mayor, have you talked, John Gizzi from Newsmax?
Yes, sir.
Have you, as you very clearly demonstrated when you held the paper up, you thought what the president would do with the nuclear agreement was spit on it and get rid of it. Has he told you personally?
No, it's a different thing when he's president of the United States, and I don't mix my role as an attorney for him with my foreign policy views. He knows my views from the time of the campaign. I know his views. Now, it's different. There's a year and a half of history, but he's surrounded by really terrific foreign policy advisors, and I would think John Bolton's view of this is no different today than it was a year ago, which is that this agreement is one of the worst ever reached in American history. Unfortunately, the Iranian regime has gotten the benefits of it already, and I think Prime Minister Netanyahu did a pretty good job of showing us how it was violated. The MEK could do that same job as effectively as the Prime Minister. So I can't predict. It wouldn't be fair now. I mean, if I were just in private life completely, I would give you a prediction. You know what my desire is, but I can't give you a prediction because I represent the president, and I certainly can't speak for him. Bolton maybe or Pompeo can speak for him, but I can't.
North Korea, what do you anticipate happening?
Well, I think I'm praying like everyone, including nobody's done more to get people released from North Korea than the gentleman who was here before, Bill Richardson, for whom I have enormous respect, even though we're in different parties. I think I think the less said about it right now, the better, and the more we pray, the better. But we could have 3 people released. That'd be historic in and of itself, and then we could have maybe, just maybe, a non-nuclear North Korea. Wow, that would be unbelievable.
President Trump's decision on the Iran nuclear deal will affect Iran proxy wars in Yemen and Syria. Stop that aggression in the Middle East.
I guess you can't go that far with it yet. I mean, he first has to decide what he wants to do with the agreement. Seems to me there are 3 choices, right? One that I don't like, continue it. Second one, renegotiate it. Or number 3, throw it out, get the sanctions back, and then see if they don't come on their knees again like they did last time. President Obama, obviously, I will not answer that question. But you can, because this is not the time for it. The concentration here is on the freedom of the Iranian people. Can you have some simple respect and remain concentrated on that? There is plenty of time to answer the other questions. I have been in support of regime change for, Ali Reza, I don't know how long. I mean, 10 years. I continue to be. I think it's the only way to peace in the Middle East. It's more important than an Israeli-Palestinian deal. I think one could happen if you didn't have. I mean, Iran used to be an ally of not only the United States, but of Israel. That could happen again. I mean, you're seeing Egypt becoming an ally of Saudi Arabia and Israel, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Qatar. This could really spread.
Reporting done when John Bolton was named National Security Advisor, using his connections to MEK and really painting him and the group and just.
Look, I went through it with John at that time. I wrote letters for him. I didn't testify because they didn't want me to testify, but I wrote letters for him, and MEK has been one of the more maligned organizations, but it's come into its own now. It was listed as a terrorist group by one of the biggest mistakes of the Clinton administration in order to placate Iran, and it has to teach you can't placate them. They're murderers, they're killers, they're thieves, and they're corrupt, and they kill members of MEK. the silly people in our State Department say the MEK is not really a threat, then why is the Iranian regime killing them if they're not a threat? You don't kill people that are not threats just for the fun of it. So
the president might go out and tweet in favor of what's going on in Iran.
He did.
Actually support
He did.
The protests.
Well,
now, what kind of effect is that having on the morale within Iran? Is that what we should be watching?
I think it's great. I think the president, I think maybe more attention paid to that and not some of the other things you want to talk about. I think the same scenario could happen in Iran that has happened in North Korea, because this president is so much more effective than our prior president, who was feckless. I mean, the prior president drew a line in the sand. Assad killed his own people and he did nothing. This president drew a line in the sand and he bombed Assad. Assad has stopped. So we got to hope that that works. It's not going to work all the time. It's not going to work immediately, but long term, it's the much better approach. Thank you.
I told you the status of the 3 American hostages.
I don't know the status of them. You might know it better than I do. It looked pretty good yesterday. I haven't paid attention to it today, and I'm praying it'll get done.
So what changed from Thursday?
I also
Comments on Thursday?
nothing's changed. They're working on it, and I'm not privy to what they're doing. I'm reading the newspapers like you are. Thank you.
Of course, that was Rudy Giuliani taking a few questions from reporters following his speech to the Iran Freedom Convention in D.C., saying he